Hello, my 605 Speaks friends. Welcome back. I know this was scheduled for yesterday and it's happening today because I decided to jaunt off to Rapid City for the weekend, which is why you can see I'm not in my usual backdrop. Very grateful to the Western South Dakota Community Action letting me use their classroom for a recording studio today. So do always support them. I have a 605 Speaks with their director, Sean, if you look back in the playlist. So really excited to finally get to see their location. Today, I'm talking to somebody from the Winter, South Dakota area, which I've never really been right in that area. So I have lots of questions. And we're also going to talk a little bit about their endeavor with animal rescue and animal health care. We're going to talk about trap, neuter, release. So if you're not familiar with that, that's kind of a topic that more South Dakotans should be familiar with because we live in a rural area and I'm a farm cat mama, and trap, neuter, release is really one of the best programs out there to deal with having too many cats. Too many cats and not enough mouses. So I am excited to bring onto the screen with me today Felicia.
Hi,
Hello.
nice to meet you.
You know, at the end of this, I'm going to say bye, Felicia.
I'm expecting it. I wouldn't expect anything less. That's just kind of normal at this point. If you didn't say it, I'd be more surprised.
Yeah, you'd be like, you have the internet and you don't know that?
Yeah. Have you heard of this? Have you been online? Yep.
Right. So you're from Winter.
Yes. Yep.
Tell the general viewer, where is Winter located in South Dakota? Top,
So,
bottom, middle?
yeah, basically the middle of, so if you kind of look at Rapid City and Sioux Falls, we're dead center essentially, and then to the south. So we're pretty close to the Nebraska border. Little place in the middle of nowhere. I think there's just about 3,000 people in our town. So big for pheasant hunting. We have a lot of orange going on right now, and a lot of people from all across the country are joining us. So
I was gonna
that's
say
huge for us right now.
you're kind of
Oh,
famous
yeah.
this time of year. Like,
Yeah,
don't you
we're the pheasant hunting capital, and I think there's another town that claims that, but they can just know that that's not the case for them.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
you guys even have an airstrip there, don't you? An airport?
Yeah, we do. We have a little airport. I don't know, how frequently they fly out of there, but yeah.
Because I think a lot of the out of staters, they might jump in through Rapid or Sioux Falls, but
Yep.
then they get a small flight so that because they're not from here and you can't take them in.
No, No, there's a lot of people that'll fly into Sioux Falls and then they travel. They just make the trip from the Sioux Falls airport. But yeah, there are people coming from all across the country for this. So between that and the rally, we get a lot of people through for that time of year too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. In a town of 3,000 people, I always determine size of small towns by what's your Walmart factor and how many high schools do you have? So do you guys have a Walmart?
oh no, so we have a couple of really good grocery stores, but we do not have a Walmart. I'm trying to think of what's notable. I mean, we have a few fast food restaurants, but no Walmart. There's only one high school and then one elementary, and then that kind of housed the middle school as well. So we split into two facilities essentially.
Are there towns right around there that your high school provides their high school, or
Um,
it's just the winter kids?
it's typically just the winter kids, but we will get people from Cologne or neighboring towns like even White River, or people will travel in just depending on where they want to go to school. I actually technically graduated from Cologne, South Dakota, so I traveled the opposite way, which people do it all kind of different ways. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Colombe is very small town, right?
oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
It's about 10 miles away from here, and I graduated with like 15 people in my class.
Oh, wow.
That was a long time ago, but I think the class sizes are pretty similar still. So,
They're still pretty small.
yep.
Yeah, yeah. But a town with 3 grocery stores, I mean, anything that's anybody from out of state, and even from, if you live in Sioux Falls and Rapid City and Aberdeen, you think of them as being like the only towns that don't close at 8 p.m.
Mhm.
Although a lot of stuff closes early in all towns now. I think we
Oh,
learned
yeah.
that post COVID is we can just go home and go to bed. We
Yep.
don't need to shop 24 hours a day. So, but 2 grocery stores, that's pretty good. Do you guys have a local paper?
We do. Yep. The Advocate.
And is it a weekly, a daily?
I think don't quote me on this. I think it's weekly. I
Okay.
know they do updates weekly on there. They have a Facebook page and a website too. So
And if you were going to turn on the TV and watch NBC, CBS, ABC, if you were going to watch local news to get the weather, what where would your network news be coming out of?
that would depend on if I was actually going to do that. A lot of the times
Right.
I'm not local. We have, I'm trying to think which channel a lot of people tune into. I probably am not as well versed in this because
I know because
I
everybody goes
technically
to
don't
the
live.
internet for those things
Yeah,
too.
I do. I use the internet for everything, and I actually travel for work. So about 75% of my life, I'm not here in winter.
Right.
So I've kind of been under the radar. I moved back not too long ago, and you know everybody in town, but I'm still getting asked, "Where do you live?" And I'm like, "Down the street and to the right." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But there's no TV stations right in there. It's got to come from either Sioux Falls or Rapid, I would imagine.
there's
Or
like a
maybe
small
Nebraska.
local sponsored channel,
Okay.
and that usually will just kind of kick off a lot of the high school news, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So if you grew up there and then left, and 75% of the time you travel for work, what made you decide to come home and home base out of winter?
Well, I have family around here, and I think that's typically a lot of I mean, if you ask a lot of people in this area why they live here, it's family. And then being rural, I lived in Sioux Falls, so I'm familiar with what you live with.
Hmm.
Great community, great mayor, great. I mean, we've got a lot of good people in the different offices and stuff, and it's a good town. But the amount of time that it took me to get everywhere, I mean, that was just, you drive to the gym, it takes 30 minutes. You drive back from the gym, it takes 30 minutes. I drive
Right.
home to work or, back from work to let the dog out, and you just spent, 3 hours just driving.
Right.
So with this, it literally takes me 2 minutes to get to the gym. I work from home, and I was already, not in the office most of the time anyways. But I do get to see my family a lot. And then we're near by the Missouri River, which I probably shouldn't mention here because I think we're trying to keep that quiet. It's a hidden gem.
Keep that a secret.
Yep.
What I do usually ask that question. I usually ask if where is the place the locals like to go that the tourists
Yeah.
don't know about? And what about like other than fast food places, what's the local classic for food for do you guys have a local
Hmm.
a steakhouse, a diner?
Well, we have quite a few. And as far as I know, they all have really good food. I think my favorite is El Tapatio. I like Mexican, and I like a good margarita when I can have it. So
Mhm.
um, that is, I mean, they stay pretty packed. We also have the Homesteader, and I think there are a couple of those like pretty locally. Um, the Elks. I mean, there's quite a few
Right, right.
places that you can get food around here, and it's all really good. So it depends on what you're looking for. But
Kind of probably each place has its own little niche crowd.
yep, if you're going to Cologne, the Frontier Bar, I mean, they have good food there. Beer fries, recommend those.
I don't know what's beer fries.
I
Is it
think they
like beer
just beer
batter?
batter the fries. Um,
But
I mean, they do that a lot around here.
beer. I like potatoes and I like beer. It does make sense to put
It's a
them
good
together.
combo.
Yeah, you can dip a potato in almost
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, they've
So,
done it right. You should definitely try it when you make your way out here.
yes.
But
Yes. What is the well, obviously not for you because you're leaving there to work and coming home to there, but for people that live right around there, what do you think is the biggest employer or is there an industry in that area?
farming is a
Farming.
lot of it. A lot of construction. There's, I don't know, a lot of people doing things for Grossenberg's is a big employer out here. So tractors, farming. But yeah, we're very rural, so that's a lot of our jobs kind of go that direction. Lots of nurses. We get traveling nurses even because there's just such a huge need. But we have a lot of different places. Like we have different hardware stores. We have a really, really nice runnings. A big Ace Hardware now, True Value. So there's quite a few of those kinds of
A
retailers
lot
in
of
the area.
retail jobs.
Yep. And then, there's quite a few people in the area just doing more of the trades too.
What about healthcare? You mentioned traveling nurses. You guys have a hospital there, don't you?
Yep. Yep.
And
We're
did you recently
affiliated with
open a new one?
Sanford.
A new one. Okay.
Yep.
And then what about like other general health care? I'm assuming a town of 3,000. You've got to have a dentist, you got to have a chiropractor. I'm
Yeah, we
assuming you
have
have
all of
all
that. We have optometrists, dentists, chiropractors, you name it. I think they have pretty much all of that. We have the MRIs where you can do those locally even. So we have stuff
Oh, nice.
outsourcing from Sioux Falls that comes here on a regular basis. So we kind of have all those boxes covered. But
If you had a major medical event though, that was, let's say they were like, this is something we've got to fly you out to
mhm.
for a bigger hospital. Do you think it'd be more likely that you'd be taken west to Rapid or east to Sioux Falls?
Sioux Falls, typically
Falls,
they go to Sioux Falls. Yep.
because you are that much in the center that they could
Oh, yeah.
probably go either way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What can I get there all on the interstate?
No,
Oh,
you can't. I kind of like the scenic route. So there's a few different ways that you can get there, but I typically go from Sioux Falls and cut down to Platte on the interstate and then take that exit all the way down. You'll get to go through the river hills.
I was
So
to
if
say
you're,
that's a
you
really
know,
beautiful area.
yeah, if you're trying to do a phone call, probably don't do that route. But otherwise you can go all the way to Chamberlain and then cut down that highway.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I think in my mind, because I'm such a tourist in my own state. I'm so stupid. Like
I'm the same way.
I would take 90 to Chamberlain and start down. I
Yep.
would I would stay on the interstate as long as I could. I would be like, I gotta know where I can pull over to pee. I
Yep.
gotta know where I can get a Taco John's. I gotta know where like
Then you went the right direction. If that's what you're doing, then yes, the
yeah,
Chamberlain route is the best way.
yeah,
Luckily, I just live around here, so I know that that's something to look
right.
for. But yeah,
And you're used to, because if I go off the beaten path, I did a whole one of these with Mike Hendrickson, and he was like, everybody needs to learn to get off the interstate and go to these
yeah,
small towns. I'm like, yeah, but if I don't have a concept of what's my next landmark before my next bathroom break, I said, you
yeah.
got to think like a woman. But if
Well,
you
and
drive it, you are probably aware of
oh
it
yeah,
doesn't feel that long to you.
the funniest part is gas. I mean, so like people from out of town don't think about that. And I'm sure you probably think about it more just being from this area. But something that I have learned from having friends that have been out here from, various different states is people don't think about, it's going to be an hour before you hit another gas station. So, like in the dead of winter, when it's freezing ass cold out, you
Right,
kind of need to know where the next gas station is, make sure that your car is totally fueled up, or you might find yourself in a world of hurt. Like the
right,
negative 40-degree wind chill days are, I mean, those are
right.
pretty rough if you don't know kind of where you're going and have all the right things. But
Well, and even right off the interstate where people don't realize they're like gas station in this small town, some of them are closed. Like unless it's a
most
big
of them.
well lit up bus
Yeah.
or a Sinclair, if you're driving late, you can't be like, well, I'm going to stop at that next little town. It's
No,
they're not all that decked out everywhere because the town doesn't need that.
it's tiny. Yeah. And most people kind of know, they just work around it. But
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah. But I bet that has got to be a very pretty drive pretty much any time of the year to decompress, to be
Oh,
like,
yeah. It
yeah,
is literally the most beautiful. I mean, so I go all across the US for what I do for work. So I've seen the ocean, I've seen it all. And obviously there's a lot of pretty places in the United States, but I am definitely biased. I think that the Missouri River, if you get a chance to kind of be around it, it's really pretty. So
right.
seems like it always looks a little bit different. So if you appreciate nature, it is one of the things you should see.
It's got to be better than 30 minutes driving through Sioux Falls where it's just another.
I miss your trails. I can tell you that much. I
Yeah,
miss the dog walking trails, but
right,
you know,
right. But that's still a very urban lifestyle compared
yeah,
to having, even if you're going home to live in a town, you've got that
right.
easy escape to somewhere
Yep.
beautiful. So let's talk about being rural. Let's talk about your side gig, which, as somebody that used to be involved in animal rescue, I know that you can call it a side gig, but it's usually more full time than your full time job. Uh, you are you are on a mission. Tell us about
I
your mission.
am. So obviously I'm from Winter. I moved away for a few years, and when I came back, I mean, I was kind of oblivious to the what I'm going to call a problem that I have seen since moving back. At one point, my dad had lost his garage cat, which we called Jeff, and I am somebody who is kind of
That is
yeah,
a very awesome name.
yeah, he's a
Like
great
instead
cat.
of just Tomcat, this is
No, it's Jeff.
Jeff.
This
Over
is
here
Jeff.
we have Steve.
Yep, and so when you're like, "Hey, Jeff's missing," everybody's like, "Okay, Jeff's missing." Like, I mean, obviously that came with some fun jokes, but I'm kind of relentless when I'm looking for something, or if I'm on a mission, I don't stop until I get kind of, I get a solid answer, or I feel like I've done enough to, throw in the towel. But last year when he had lost his cat, I mean, everybody everywhere was like, there's a black cat over here. There's a black cat over here. There, 50 calls and you're checking all these and you're like, okay, these are not the cat that we're looking for. But it opens your eyes to how many are actually out there.
Mhm.
And when I started to kind of actually look around and open my eyes and was just noticing, I mean, they're everywhere. And so at one point I was like, have we done anything about this? I started
Right.
asking questions to local vet. I was asking questions to people that I know within the city. And it sounds like they had kind of gone back and forth throughout the years on like what to do with it, but nothing had ever been done. So, I
And
typically
for
kind of
and
just
and I'll say it so that you don't have to, because I'm not in the rescue world anymore, so I don't care. But for viewers not, I know I do have some viewers that aren't from South Dakota.
Yep.
If you live in the Midwest, we used to do something about it, a lot of time means the sheriff shot them.
Yes.
A lot of times it means,
Yeah.
and a lot of times on the farm, and I have farm family as well. Sometimes, a lot of times, it does mean, we colloquially would say it died of a headache or lead
Oh yeah.
poisoning. A lot of times it's, and I don't necessarily believe that's inhumane, but it is not a good plan of action.
No.
It's not a corrective plan. It just takes care of the one critter in front of you. So
Yep.
I don't think that that's a horrible and terrible thing, but I know it does sound that way to people that don't live in a rural area. But a lot of times, yeah, if a town has or an area has dealt with a feral cat or dog problem before, that meant either a roundup or just if you see it, shoot it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's really kind of sad. I mean, and obviously they're just doing what they know to do.
right,
I did a lot of research and just kind of was like, what are other people doing or what's going on in the world that other people are
right,
doing for this problem? Because we can't be the only ones. And
right.
so that's when I had heard about Trap Neuter Release. And when I originally reached out to the group in Deadwood, it's the Spay and Neuter Coalition out there.
Hmm.
I was like, do you think you guys could bring a bus down here and just kind of help us? And they're like, yeah,
Right.
we don't do that. I'm like, so this means that I'm going to have to do something about it. Okay, sounds good. So
So,
I
so
mean, I was,
while you're bringing a bus of cats,
yeah,
you can either
I'm
bring a
like,
bus with some soldiers, or I'm going to bring a bus with some cats.
yeah, basically, I mean, I was just like looking for, any kind of resources, but ultimately we got something set up for winter. They sponsor me, so they cover a large chunk of the costs for taking them in, but kind of what my life looks like is I go out and I set traps, I trap cats. I take them to the bed and I have appointments that I set up with them. So it's kind of like it's a lot of orchestrating, a lot of,
Right.
kind of project coordinating, but essentially, I take them into the vet, I pick them back up when they're done, and I either release them or I rescue them. I'm trying not to advertise too much of the rescue just because I am one person. So, of course,
Right.
I've kind of set out, I've set out different things on my Facebook pages just to say, like, hey, just remember this is just a one person, one woman show.
Right.
So I have limitations. I can't take them all in, but if there's a kitten, I caught like 7 kittens one day, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't let you guys out. So I figured it out, and I found some fosters and stuff. But in the 3 months, I started in June, and I was trapping for 3 months, and I think I caught over 100. And in the 100 that I had caught and gotten all fixed, I think I homed about 40 to 45 of them indoors, and another 30 plus went to farms. So I am really
That's
intentional about
like
trying to get
one
them
cat
off.
per household for your entire town.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, I'm pushy. So I
but
will say, I
but I
mean,
mean that goes to show an example of how fast it can
yep,
it can grow and people don't realize it. I mean,
it's
that would be
it's
like your whole
insane.
town would have to
Mhm.
commit to caring for this living animal.
Yes.
Each
Oh,
one of you
we
has to
definitely have. We probably have at least 1,000 feral cats. I have to think that. I mean, I've put in a lot of work and I've
right.
been kind of tricky about it, but I don't think that I'm just, hitting a gold mine and just having all this luck. I think it's like there's just so many out there,
Mhm. And
and
cats are
right
way
now,
more
currently,
invisible. I mean, obviously, if you had 100 dogs roaming the street, people
oh
would
yeah,
notice that.
you'd
Dogs are
notice.
and dogs come to where people are, whatever. Cats do their own
Mhm.
thing. Cats, I
Yep.
mean, cats really can live independently outdoors. Like I said, I'm a farm cat mama, although my farm cats move their way into the house and they own it now. I think their names are on the deed. But the the cats can be invisible. I mean, they really,
They
really can.
are.
The number of them. And also, like you said, 50 black cats or one black cat.
Oh
Like
yeah.
people don't realize they might be seeing multiple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible when you start to kind of see. I mean, so now that I'm actually in it, I realize how big of a problem it is, even more so than what I thought. Just because, yeah, we're clipping the ear, so they get like a little V
Yep.
out of their ear that they take out, a little small chunk. They're getting their rabies vaccinations, and they're being sent back out for the most part. But
And do you
um,
do both? Do you have spays and neuters, or are you
yeah,
exclusively looking for males? Because,
nope, doing both.
okay,
Yeah, so I know some places will do that, but we just figure like, I mean, it's hard to catch every single one. So if you can at least
right,
catch, you have a better chance of hopefully fixing up a neighborhood. And I've just kind of been tackling it like one location at a time and just kind of working from there.
right. Because you'd have to catch. We all know just like with humans, one woman only has so many babies, but one man,
Yep.
one tomcat with a good roving eye
All
and some
these baby
charm,
mamas. Yeah.
yeah, can be quite the neighborhood
Mhm.
uh, marauder.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that are, and the funny thing is how much healthier they will be if you actually just get them spayed and neutered.
Yes.
I mean, so obviously
So
the
much less
ultimate thing.
fighting. So many
Yes.
less
Mhm.
cats with where you because you feel most terrible when you see a feral
Oh,
cat
yeah.
or a stray with a gouged out eye or a face infection or
Mhm.
whatever, and that's when it becomes visible, and people don't realize that infection is because they got a belly
Oh, yeah.
scratch in a fight or in a breeding mess or whatever, and now it's up here and you those are the cats people always want to save, and I'm like, you could
Mhm.
have saved it 3 weeks ago
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
this.
and around here, people don't think about it that way, and I don't think that it's not that they don't. I mean, I don't think that everybody cares, but I think there are a lot of people that do care, they just don't know what the right thing is, and so that's where I'm here to say, I guess Bob Barker always said this, I've heard, but spay and neuter your pets because it's like, if you're not doing that, you're putting them into a world of danger, whether it be
Right,
diseases that they get, but also the roaming aspect of it all. When they're roaming because they're in heat or they're in mating, they're traveling a lot of distance to find a mate, which puts them at danger of crossing roads or going into like places where people are going to shoot them, or
right.
there's all kinds of different things that they can get themselves
Or
into.
where, I
But
mean, rabies is on the rise in South
right,
Dakota, or where they're going to go. There are a lot of people that have indoor outdoor cats, even in the city or whatever.
yep,
And your indoor outdoor cat is going to encounter these,
yeah,
it's like that's where you get the cross. The FIV is huge in South Dakota
yep,
with
it
cats,
is.
and rabies is on the rise. And yeah, if you get a cat that's roaming and then encounters your urban cat that doesn't know what to do about it, that's how you
Mhm.
that's how you end up with a vet bill of your own for the cat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I mean, it's so far so good. I mean, I'm typically on the road certain months of the year, so I've been fortunate enough to find a couple of volunteers lately. So they're kind of taking a stab at it, and putting in some time out there and just trapping and taking in, and that's been really nice. But yeah, obviously we're hoping to continue to do this.
you talked about ear tipping. A lot of people don't know what ear tipping is. My
Yep,
cats are all tipped because that's when the vet, while they're
yep,
under sedation, they clip their ears so that if somebody else catches them or you re-catch them, you don't take them in and get, on males, they can kind of tell if the stuff is gone, but on
right.
females, they don't get opened up again unnecessarily for surgery. Have you ever recaught any of your own tipped cats?
I've got probably more of the ones that I've already done than any. You know what I mean? If I had a dollar for every trap that I had a cat in, it'd be way more than 100. And for some reason, I think that I must just have that soothing nature where they're just like, that wasn't so bad the first time. So
She
let's just try it
she
again. She
she's
feeds you.
free lunch.
She
I
gives
got
you,
a
yeah.
bath. I got a mani pedi. I woke up a little dazed and confused, but
Yeah, but it was all right. It actually was kind of nice, She let me hang out in her garage for the night. It was like
right,
temperature controlled. I mean, yeah, it's funny because I do catch a lot of them multiple times. And so I'm like, you got to get out of here. Like, what are you doing? I'm trying to catch your buddy over there.
right, right,
So it's kind of a lot of work at times because if you have, you set these appointments with the vets, and of course I want to respect their time because they've got
right.
plenty to do. And so you're trying to make sure that you go in there with at least one or two each time you set up an
Yes,
appointment. And then sometimes, like me, I will be like, hey, you're going to hate me in about 5 minutes. I'm showing up with 12. We wanted to give you two, but I have 12. So
right.
just depends on the day. But
But most of the vets, I think, they absolutely understand that this improves their it's part of their calling too.
Yep.
When I did rescue, we had pit bulls, and we would show up with that same thing. We're like, well, we went. Somebody said that it was a Labrador, and it's a pit
It's
bull, and are
not.
you okay with that? And I know there was a time where my husband, somebody asked him, they're like, yeah, do you still do pit bull rescue? And he's like, yeah, and because they had a pit bull and they were looking for advice, and then after work, it was in his truck.
Oh,
Like, and he's like, and he came home. We ended up adopting that one. He's like, well,
yep.
we have another dog.
You
So,
ask for forgiveness, not for permission. That's what I've
yes,
learned.
yes. And you do feel like, boy, if it was that bad that you couldn't handle having another living creature in your house, well, I'm not going to make you take it back.
Right.
Right. But again, for
Yeah.
most people, 3 weeks ago, if you would have asked the question, we probably could have done this reasonably. Don't wait
Yeah.
until leave it somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that's a mentality that I like to change. I think that we have a lot of great things going on with our small towns, but one thing about it is, and this is something I appreciate as well as would like to alter in some cases. We're very cowboy in nature, and that's what I love about South Dakota. That's why I live here. The rules don't always necessarily apply to us, and I'm just going to say it that way because we kind of just do our own thing out here. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We have a lot of freedoms. That's,
Right.
it is what it is. But at the same time, I'd like us to improve how we treat animals and just kind of the overall care that we take and, put into consideration that they are living creatures. So
Right.
just doing whatever you feel is the most humane is obviously the goal here. But
Right. And a lot of times it is just needing someone like yourself to take ownership of the leadership part of like, so we could organize, we could kind of have a plan,
yep.
and this would go a little better for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and I
you
think it has helped. I mean, just here, I think the word is spreading. I don't think that it hasn't circled back yet, but I've heard, I have a neighbor, very, very nice people, but I know that they have in the past taken cats, trapped them, shot them, out in the country.
Right.
And the sad part that people don't realize is that there's a family out there that maybe owns one of those, and cats all act the same when you put them into cages.
Yeah.
And so we had an indoor outdoor cat that went missing suddenly, and it's not hard to think that somebody probably did the same thing with that. And for how devastated young kids can be when their animal doesn't come home, it's
Exactly.
like, maybe there's a better way.
And I think people forget to, like, even if you put a collar on a cat, most cats
Yes.
collars are made to be
Take them off.
breakaway because cats slide through and we don't want
Yep.
them strangled somewhere. That's not good either. But a lot of people with indoor outdoor cats, they don't have them. And you can talk about microchipping, but when Farmer Earl picks up a
Right.
cat
Yeah.
that looks beat all the heck because
Yeah.
it got into it with another cat,
Yep.
he's
He's
not
not
checking
checking the
it.
microchip. Yeah.
He's
No.
wanting to make sure it doesn't bring home rabies to his
Right.
animals. Um, and
And I think that's what they see as, I will say it's not humane to let them just live and roam and multiply because the amount of resources that are then there for those cats is not. So when there's 50 in a small area, they're lacking food unless people are
right,
throwing food out at them. But then if you're doing that, you're creating breeding grounds and you're also, again, creating
right,
that travel pattern. But there's lots of diseases. That's the biggest thing I've noticed is like catching a lot of these. They come in with all that junk that they carry in their noses. Their eyes are all goopy. A few of them we had to we did have to put a couple of them down just because of how bad they were. And it's an unfortunate thing, but the misery that they live with, like living in that manner,
right,
to me, I'm an animal lover, so I'll do anything to rescue anything. We
right.
just took on a puppy that couldn't walk, and now, it's like we're not ones to just put something down right away, but
Right.
there's just times where it's really not
Where
the
that
best.
is the humane thing to do,
Yep.
where that cat probably was lucky it found its way
Oh,
to you
yeah.
because it would have either suffered or become a target for a
Mhm.
bigger predator, and
Yes, exactly.
that's not pleasant to think
No.
about. Yeah. So, because the pheasants aren't taking the cats out.
Yeah. I
The
think the
pheasant
cats might be
population doesn't
kicking.
keep the cat population down.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
Ah,
you don't want that's another thing when you get too many and you talk about food sources, they're great for keeping your rodent population down, but when they start taking out all the birds
birds,
and
yep.
taking out, you find a feral cat in your hen house, it's like,
Oh, yeah, and that happens. They're kinda everywhere. So at some point, hopefully, this will become less and less, but it obviously just takes a lot of time. The 100 that I've done, just as quickly as you spay neuter 100 more are being had, like, before your very eyes.
right.
They can have, like, 3 litters in a year, and, you just assume that anywhere from 1 to, I don't know, 8 or something can make
Right.
it. Depends on the mama, depends on what time of year they have them, but then those can go on and have kittens. Like they can be pregnant in like 4 months, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a crazy, like the statistics are wild, but
And when they're not living in a house or they're not part of a family, and then they aren't kept segregated to even slow that trend of, well, we'll wait till you're a grown-up kitty before we
yes,
let you play grown-up games. That's not how it is in the wild.
no,
So they can do
no,
whatever they want. There's no curfew.
nope,
There's no
and they
curfew
abuse
after
it. Yeah, you can see it around town. They abuse it a lot. So
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? What about right there in your area? Are there any other organized animal rescues for like dogs or any other type of animals, or not so much right there?
oh
I know probably regionally there's some in the area, but right in winter, are there any other organized humane society or
well,
anything like
not in winter. In winter, we do have a gal that does animal control, and so they do have a pound for dogs.
that? Mhm.
So sometimes we're lucky enough to, pick up dogs, and then we actually partner with the Gregory Animal Rescue, I believe.
Mhm.
I know they've been kind of slowing down just because there's only a couple people running that.
Right,
But a lot of the times they'll help home those guys, and so that's incredible. Just because then those guys, a lot of the times, the dogs that we're getting are so mangy and so unhealthy that for them to be able to go through that program and find homes that way, that's been nice.
right,
They don't really do much with cats, but they are more than happy to, help advertise again. So it's nice having those partnerships in small communities. But I would say outside of winter is where I had learned of a couple of the gals that you have probably been in touch with, but they do the Sioux Falls All Cats Rescue.
yep, yep.
So they've taken a few for me. And I think they took like, I don't know, 6 of them. So yeah, I had 6 cats in my car and we were taking a field trip to Sioux Falls one day. And then I had my dog in the car too. And so she was like, "What are you doing to me? Why are we doing this?" And I'm like, "I swear to God, Jersey, we're not keeping all of these." But she
Right.
did not look thrilled. And so I ended up dropping them all off, and they've all been adopted. So that's been awesome. Well, 2 of them are not old enough to be adopted, but they're working with Sarah.
There's
So
plans. Yeah.
yeah, they're in the process, but I've also had the opportunity to work with Mitchell Trap Neuter Release program. So they actually homed another like 4 or 5 of them for me. So I think it's all like our communities are great about working together, and that's another huge bonus to small towns is like everybody typically works pretty well together.
And
You know?
everybody knows somebody. Everybody
Yes.
knows each other. And so when you know each other, you know, like, oh, so and so at church, their pet passed away and they're
Yeah.
probably ready for a new little love. Or so and so over there, they're real good about for transport. I had a lot
Yep.
of friends that were like, I can't adopt another pet or I don't want a pet, but I'll help you. That I had several friends that they traveled for their jobs and they would do
Yep.
transport for me because that they traveled regionally and it's like, yeah, we'll get this to Minneapolis or we'll get this to Marshall
Yeah.
or get it to Omaha because we're going that way anyway.
Yep.
So we'll have a co-pilot. 6 co-pilots is a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of meowing going on. When you're trying to make work calls, you're like, "Ah, just ignore what you hear in the background. This
Right.
is this is my radio."
Right. Yeah. I find it soothing. It's ASMR. It's great.
Yeah.
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 What about veterinary services in your area? I mean, I'm sure you have rural vet care, and hunting dogs have to be a big deal down
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah, we have a winter animal clinic. That's the group that's doing all of our spay and neuters. And then obviously, yes, they have, I mean, they do large animals, they do small animals. So our population serves a lot of, hogs, a lot of cattle, buffalo even. So I know they work a lot with, sheep, all of those different animals, but also cats, dogs. I mean, growing up, we had a one-eyed gerbil, so they even got to work on that. I mean, they've had all kinds of stuff kind of go through there. And one of their vets is actually from Australia. So she comes with a background that has, even more than that. I think she's worked on kangaroos and different things
yeah,
like that. So it's kind of
she's
neat to be
probably
able to
like
get
you
them together.
Americans. Hardly
Yeah,
any of
you,
your animals
yeah,
will kill you.
yeah. So I think she's seen it all. So
Yeah.
that's always nice. But yeah, and then we have other vets kind of local to our area, so lots of different places that people can go to get their pets taken care of.
Have they helped you, with the public education? Is there anybody just handing out flyers door to door and saying, "Hey, if this is going on in your neighborhood, if your neighborhood is a hot spot, here's things you can do in your neighborhood to decrease your numbers, like not leaving out food. I know you want to. I know it feels like a good
Yeah.
idea or it feels like the nice thing to do. It's not.
Yep.
and just those tips. Do you have like a squad, a street squad of high schoolers?
No, I need a street squad. I've kind of been my own street squad. When I first started this, I just kind of, I asked some questions, kind of just saying, "Hey, what would this look like? And can we do this?" And all of a sudden, I was met with like, "Here's a voucher. Go ahead and get started." And so I was like, "All right, well." And so I didn't necessarily have everything kind of mapped out before I'd gotten it on a roll, but I have put up a lot of flyers just asking for fosters, donations, and I do try to put a lot of updates on my Facebook page because I am running that. So I try to put up some, it's more I think a lot about conversations with people, and that's where I find that I've been most effective. Is like my phone is nonstop because of my full-time job, but then when I'm not on the phone because of my full-time job, I'm on the phone because of this rescue. So a lot of the times it's just educating people like, well, if you continue to feed them out here and you're not getting them fixed, you're just creating more and more and more of a
Right.
problem.
Problems for your
So
neighbors. Tell the
yeah.
neighbors to report on each other. That's
Well,
how
and
you get it.
I think around here it's because we're very rural, I don't know how seriously we take a lot of that kind of stuff when it's called
Right.
in. And I can't blame people for wanting to try to help, but now that this program is around, that's where I would push everybody to kind of lean into it because I'm willing to allow other people to volunteer for certain things. Obviously, it has to just be approved through myself and Dr. Laura. But I mean, there's lots of opportunity to kind of help your neighborhood. And the one way to do that is through this trapping, spaying, and neutering. And, feeding them is not helping them. So I do try to, I try to educate people, but I mean, we've done some radio stuff locally. We've kind of posted all over the place, but we'll probably continue to do some of that stuff more marketing related as the year gets a little bit slower. So
Right. And I know you've said you have started researching the becoming like a 501, becoming a
yep.
nonprofit and organizing that way. And I know everybody starts this out actually hoping like maybe we can get the community on board and resolve this before we have to do that work.
Yeah.
But that does open a lot of doors for you. I don't think people realize until that point you
Yeah.
doing this is either out of your
Right.
own pocket or on the good graces of people who will pay a vet bill. It's like you can't apply for grants.
Mhm.
You can't get any. People always say, well, there's probably some program. Not for
Not
average
when you're not
Joe who wants
official.
to do the right
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
a lot of this has been, so I have been very fortunate. Our town has collected quite a few donations. I'm not going to say it's going to run. I mean, it will run out if it doesn't continue to come through. But the program that we have set up through the Deadwood group, basically they cover all but $10 for a spay or neuter, and then all but $7 for rabies. So I, in total, pay $17 per cat that I take in. And then if they have extra, which they typically do, like we just had a cat with a degloved tail the other day that they had to amputate, obviously, like not trying to give you bad, but
no,
that's how
but
bad it
that's
can
an
be.
example
Mhm.
of these
Yes.
animals are doing what they can do.
Yep. And so that extra stuff that you have to take care of. I mean, you don't want to leave a cat running around out on the streets with that kind of an issue. I mean, those things cost money. Even euthanasia costs money. So of course,
Yep.
like if they have to put a cat down, that's extra.
And disposal
Um,
of the animal.
yes.
I mean, you
Yep.
can't just
Yeah.
make
So
a
there's a
pile and bring it
variety of
into
different
town.
things. Yeah. And so those donations have been really helpful. A lot of that's been coming through. We have certain like little jars. Well, I have some jars set around town. I would say those aren't as successful for accepting donations. Obviously, people are a little less apt to put money into those, and I don't blame them. But the Winter Animal Clinic one, they have been raising money, and so I just basically have a credit to that account where we just kind of use that, and whatever happens, we'll just keep hopefully bringing donations in, and then I think the expensive part is just when it's not the vet bills. A lot of the stuff like the cat food I'm buying, the pet pads that you're transporting them on or putting them in,
Right.
like they have to stay the night in their kennel because they're still sedated.
Right.
So that kind of stuff, the dishes, the traps in and of themselves is so expensive. And so all of that was kind of my like, here, I'll go ahead and I'll eat this cost for now. But over time, I'd like to see it where that's not a cost of my own. Especially if I'm having volunteers help out, I'd like to be able to be like, here's a few traps, here's some stuff,
Right.
have
And
at it.
diversify so all the cats aren't coming to your house for free lunch.
Yeah, I mean,
like
they think they should
diversify
be,
the
but
spots, and whatnot.
yep.
So if somebody wanted to help you out now and wanted to make a donation, could they like call the Winter Clinic and say, I'm gonna give you my credit card number and I'm gonna pay $17. I want to neuter a cat?
Yeah, yeah, they should be able to. I know the Winter Clinic would be happy to take on donations. I would say typically it's probably easier for them if you do like a check to them. If you write it to the Winter Animal Clinic and just write on there on behalf of the TNR, they'll just credit it to the account. I know they're very busy, so phone calls might make them a little, if they get all of a sudden this incoming
Right,
phone call,
right. Well, and it's
but
hard to have a process for like, you know, sending money. Venmo is
yeah,
great, but you've got to get all that set up too and have a
yep.
separate account and things like that. Um, and I love that more and more businesses are setting those up though, because it
Oh yeah,
is. We've
it's
gone to a
helpful.
plastic society. I'll see those jars, and I wish I had changed to put it in, but I
Yep.
don't carry cash anymore. You know,
Yeah, and people will ask to do Venmo, and for me, like until I'm actually 501c approved, I'd prefer it to just go straight to the clinic,
to the business. Yep.
because it just feels more appropriate.
Transparent. Yeah.
Yes, and so
Plus,
that's kind of what I've
plus
been pushing.
bookkeeping and crap for you, and it becomes a pain.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and the fact is so I have a full-time job that I work like anywhere from, in the summertime, sometimes I get 35-hour days, but during this time of my years, it's like I might be doing 80-hour work weeks, depends on the time of the year. But trying to collect up those jars on a regular and then trying to post flyers and then also just trying to actually do the thing, that's a lot of different stuff. So the easier the better,
right,
it
right.
definitely helps. But
You need to get those FFA kids and the three,
I know.
to give
I've
us
been given a lot of
$6.
really great suggestions, like our town's Rotary Club, all kinds of different, I know the seniors have a senior project that they have to do. So I was told to go and approach them. So I mean, I'm going to be pestering people probably sometime
Right,
soon, but
right.
it's just it all takes time unless you can find somebody else that wants to help spearhead some of it, and that's where I've been having a harder time.
Go to the
Um,
senior center, get those ladies cookies,
yeah,
cats
yeah,
for the cats, and be like, this is the
that'd
cat
be
that was
cute.
already been caught.
I need some, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, there's something for everyone. I think that's the thing is like if you're local and you're able to volunteer, there's something that people can be doing.
Right.
A lot of the times it takes being able to transport, like some sort of having reliable transportation is kind of the one thing that I've had a hard time with is if people are wanting to help, most of the time you're going to need some sort of transportation to be able to
Yep.
do that. And you have to be local because it won't make a lot of sense for you to drive from Mission, South Dakota, all the way over here to help us. And then,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
it has to make sense and be feasible. But, I definitely am welcome to having help as long as you're going to do it in a humane and trustworthy way.
Right.
With integrity, we're all good. But
Right. But yeah, and but like we said, there's definitely no cost or low cost things that people can just change their own habits of. Don't be
yeah,
leaving out food. Don't be encouraging them to stay around. Don't be creating places for cats to hide and have their babies. And
right. And if you're going to do that, then just take them in and foster
yes,
them and adopt them out. So, like,
yes,
I mean, there are certain people that I know right now have been taunting some of them to their yard, and that is what we're doing. We're taunting them and trapping them and homing them. And so that in those situations, if you're an actual volunteer, actually volunteering to do the program, then sure. I have a couple that I'm hoping to taunt, like I'm working on taming. I actually just shoved. You'll think this is hilarious. This is not my office. I have a really nice indoor home office, but right now I had tamed down a cat for the last year and a half, and I shoved her into a carrying kennel a couple of weeks ago. She was so pregnant. I tried to trap her for the longest time because she's not a tame cat by any means, but
right,
she's tamer than she was. Eventually, I shoved her into a carrying kennel, and I didn't know what to do with her because she was about ready to pop. And so there's that line of like what's humane and what's not. And I was like, I think we've well past that. So I put her in my office because I mean, she's tame enough. I was like, we'll just see how it goes. She had kittens in my office the very next day. So right now I have 7 cats in my actual office and I have no place. Luckily, I work on the road. Because
right.
otherwise I'd be in a real pain point right now. But yeah, I have seven cats, seven.
This is how cats domesticated us.
Yes. I'm
She's
like,
like, I just need to come in your house for this
For a
one day.
second, just for a second.
We're
It's a
not
little
friends
cold.
until we're gonna have brunch this one day, and I'm gonna have
Yeah.
7 babies.
Oh my God. And so truth be told, I think this should probably be said is I'm not even a cat person. I am a dog person. I like dogs. I have one cat. Well, I have two cats. One is supposed to be my fiance's cat, and the other one I'm like obsessed with. So I thought I liked cats, and then I met all the other ones. I'm like, no, you guys are. I mean, I like animals, but I'm allergic to them. So
Oh my
it's
goodness.
quite the thing. I'm like, I'm really trying here. I'm trying to do something that's a nice deed, but like at the end of the day, I'm like, these guys need to get a home, and so people need to be taking them from me, like ASAP.
Right.
But
Right. Start outfitting your house as people of winter area.
yeah, I know. I feel like I
Send
need to have
home
one
with
of
all
those
of
like
the
spotlights. It's like,
Yeah, send one home with each of the hunters as a gift with purchase. Thank you for visiting. Here, take this home for your
well,
family.
the funny thing is with my full-time job, I go and I visit with students across the US. And so I've been joking with my peers at work that I'm just going to take gift baskets of kittens everywhere. And so that joke starts to get old after a while, but
But now
I'm
you
in my
have the
do it.
kittens. You just need the basket.
Yeah. I'm on your way. Be prepared.
Awesome. Well, thank you for talking with me about this today, and
Yeah,
we'll get
thank
the
you
word
for
out.
having
And
me.
when you do decide to get a nonprofit status, again,
Yep.
I always hope that with animal rescue that the problem resolves itself. I don't think it will
Fingers
though.
crossed.
Yeah, because I'm really old, and it's the same as when I started
Mhm.
years and years ago. So, but when you do get your status, let us know because I know people in the area that they can't help transport or they can't take in a cat, but
Yep.
they would pay $17 to help you help your community.
Yeah.
And how easy is that? And that also sounds manageable. People
Yeah.
think, oh
It's
my God,
nothing
they're going to want
crazy.
$300 from me or something.
Yep.
Not when you're working with a specific, I mean, this is a community health issue, and that's why you
Yes.
can get vets that are like, okay, we'll basically do this for cost because
Yep.
it's a community health issue. So
Yeah.
awesome.
So if anybody wants to, yeah, if they want to tune in to see what we're doing, there's the Winter Area Trap Neuter Release Facebook page. But yeah, as of right now, that's kind of the only place that we're doing announcements. And yeah, I'd appreciate any help that anybody can give, but more so just raising awareness. So having those conversations if you hear of other towns having the same problem. But
Or that have had good outcomes, have
yes,
had something where it's
success.
like,
I take some stories.
right, the day we
Tips,
did this, all of a
tricks.
sudden it clicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you,
Well, thank
Felicia, for
you.
joining me. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Bye, Felicia.
See ya. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am now a cat person. I used to be a dog person. I had 5 pit bulls at one time. Now I've got 3 cats. We did have 6. My neighborhood, I am so lucky. My neighbor has 2 cats that he did the same thing, trap, spay, neuter, and he's got his 2 outdoor cats. I've got my indoor outdoor cats, but we do not have a cat problem in our neighborhood because as soon as those came into our lives, we had them vetted. And everybody can do that. Everybody can do that. And you don't have to then take the cat into your house, but you can reach out and get somebody to help you out with that. And it is a community health thing. Save the other pets. I am very, very sad to see rabies going up in South Dakota communities amongst homed animals. That's trust me, there is nothing more awful than having to put your dog down because of suspected something like rabies, because there is no coming back from that. There is no, it's just like old Yeller. There is no waiting to see if it's going to work itself out. It isn't. It isn't. So, well, now I know a little more about the winter area. I think I will make a goal to do the drive. When I go home from Rapid today to Sioux Falls, I'm not going to drive all the way down there and drive along the river. I'm going to drive right home to my river. But she is correct. The Missouri River, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. We have a lot of great lesser known spots that you can stop and see. I'm still looking for, remember, my ultimate goal is someone from Ziebach County because I really, for some reason, want to talk to somebody from that county. So if you have any connections, hook me up, 605speaks.com. Tell them I want to talk to them. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.